Hey everyone, this is Vincent and I am super pleased to be with you today to showcase a new feature of Substance 3D Designer, which is releasing today. Right now I'm recording with the beta, so it's not even yet, but when you are going to see the video, it should be there. And this feature, which has been requested for a few years, is the ability to create portals within your graphs. So it means that your graph will look way cleaner. Spaghetti graph, as we used to call them, are going to be something from the past, hopefully. So I'm going to take advantage to this video to, of course, show you how to create portals and use it within your graph. But also I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks to work faster, to have a better life while creating your graphs. So these are not optimizations tips. This is really UX tip and how to take advantage of a different feature of Substance 3D Designer to work faster. So let me share my screen first. Here we go. And we are going to start with the portals, of course, because that's what you are here at first. So in order to create a portal, you have to use the dot node. So we are going first to see the dot node and how to use it to improve your graph. So what is it? So the dot node is this node, this one, this small one. By itself, it doesn't do anything. It's really made to make your graph cleaner by organizing the flow of the link to make it more readable. So here, for example, you see that I added one, so you see it can move. If I remove it like this, you see that now the link is behind this node, so it's not really handy to read, especially if someone else is opening your graph. So that's why I added one here, one here. You see that I love to add them. There are different ways to create a dot node. There is the classic one, which are to use this bar, for example. You can click also to create another one. You can also press spacebar dot, of course. But the best way to create a dot node is to to hold the Alt key. And you see that when you pass on whatever link, you will have this temporary dynamic yellow dot. And if then you click a second time, it knows create the dot node for you. And then you can just link. There is a small input and output. And once again, this is extremely handy to organize your graph. So now how to create portals with the dot node. So let's go here. I'm going to put that a bit farther. I'm going to remove this one at the moment. And let's see how to create one. I'm going to show you at the same time another technique to create a dot node. You just select this one, spacebar, dot node, and now you see that not only it links it, but it keeps all the connection. This is not true only for the dot node, but in that case, it makes it really handy. So if I select the dot node, you see that now I have some parameters and I can enter an ID name. So let's do that. So I'm going to call it my first portal. And when I press enter, you see that now you have the name of the portal you have just created here. This is the emitter portal in that part. So now how to create a receiver. This is super easy. First technique, you just create a new dot node here. And you see that you have a list of input portals here. So if I go within the list, you got it. You have the name of the portal I have just created. So I'm just clicking on it, and now you have this connection between both. And you see it because you have like this kind of wireless symbol. And you see that on the receiver, so the output portal, you have the name to know to which portal it refers, which is great. Also, if you select it, while it's selected, you have this temporary link, so you can have a better idea, okay, where it was. So that's a way to create a dot node. This is how it works, and it makes it great, of course, to work. Then, for example, from here, I could just relink that, and it would work directly. It would take the information, as you can see here. Another way to create a portal, a receiver, once you get the emitter like that, what I can do is just look at the existing link like these ones. And once again, hold Alt. And when I click, it will auto set up the portal for you. So now you see that the link is here. So it removed the link, of course it doesn't, and it makes a wireless link directly. So now as I can use this and just plug it here, and I have another one here. I can add a portal once again. If I press Alt, I'm creating a portal here, and now I just remove this link. So you see that for this portal is feeding all of this, but you don't have all this long spaghetti link that we would have had before. So that's how the portal works. It may, obviously, I'm super happy because this is something that we have been asking for a while. It took time, but I think it will really help making your graph way cleaner than before. So now that we have seen the portal, let's see some other ways to improve everything. So I have a small list on the left. We are going to start by, so let me check first the dot. So I speak about the Alt, select node. We did everything on my list for the dots and the portals. So now we are going to see the graph organization in general, how to organize your graph efficiently. So the first thing I would use, and that you should use more, are the comments. First, when you do, I like when I start a graph to start with a main comment. So to do a comment, you just press here, for example, and you can add a comment, or spacebar comment, of course. And here you can make a to-do list of what you have to do. That's a good stuff to do. For example, if you have a snowy rock to do, you can do snowy rock, and you can say the different step. Make rock material, make pebble, make snow material, and make mask. I don't know, I'm just doing it really quickly, and now you have this list. So this is something that you can put somewhere to refer to, so you know what you have to do. This is kind of a to-do list. Why not using it? We have commands, so you can use this way. So that's a way to get like this to-do list. You can start by this when you're organized. Then what I like to use are frames to organize all of this. So I'm going to do as if I'm in a blank space, and I like to take this and to organize this as frames. So to do frames, spacebar frame, and you will have a small frame. So I do an empty frame, and I say, for example, okay, here it will be my rock material. And I start creating within that. And then the snow may be somewhere there, I don't know. Oops, sorry, frame. Like this one, and you will make a second one. And within the frame, once again, first I invite you not to keep always this blue, and to make something different for each step. It will help you. And once again, you can name it. So snow, and here you can add some notes. So don't forget to reuse snowy material, for example. So just use it as reminders. It's a working space, so use the tool to organize your work, and it will really help you. Talking about frames, I'm just saying. So just make all this, the main step, into frames like that. It could help. Then maybe by the time you will say, okay, finally I need to divide this in 2 different frames, etc. But yeah, that could help to organize before to start, so you know what you have to do. So talking about frames right now, as you can see, I have some here. Let's take this, for example. If you create a frame from nothing, you see that it makes this small stuff, but I assume you already know that. Let's delete this. If I select this and create a frame, the frame will adapt its size to fit with your content. And it allows you also to move sections like that, which is great. What you may not know is that if you want to move the frame without moving the content, you can press Alt and then you can move the frame and not moving the content. So it can be useful if you have moved some stuff around and you want to readapt the frame to the content. Okay, so I'm just making a small edit to the video because I forgot to talk about a really important improvement that you can make as well when working, is using the pins, the navigation pin. So this is this that you can have here, which is called navigation pin, and that you can rename, and that allows you to well navigate quickly within your scene. So I can give a name like test, for example, and it will name test. And then when you press F2, you are going to pass through the different pins. Here you see I just removed the name and I put it close to the name of my frame. So it helps me navigate within the different position of my graph. So it's really important if you want to spot some key elements and switch from one to another really quickly. You just press F2 once they are created, or you can do Shift F2 if you want to go the way around. So now let's see the node creation. Some tips about the node creation. So first I'm going to change the color again, something like that. Okay. So to the node creation, there is different ways. Of course, you know the spacebar to create. You can drag and drop from here. That's not tips and tricks. You already know that. But if you press the spacebar, you know that right now you can define shortcuts. So you have these small stars here, and first when you do that, it will put your favorite on the top, and if you want to add a favorite, you just have to click here, and now if you open again, you see that they will be first. Another cool thing, which is quite new, like 1 year old I think, is the fact that you can define shortcuts for the atomic nodes. So here you see that you can display them. So as you can see, I defined some. This is not by default. I chose it myself. So now, for example, you see that for a gradient map, I can press J directly, G, and I have my gradient map here. If I want a pixel processor, I set up the P and it works. So how to define that? You go Edit, Preference, I think Shortcuts here, and here you can define for the different ones. And if there is a conflict, for example, if you say, okay, I want to press F, you will see, watch out, there is a conflict. So you cannot make mistakes. You can choose shortcuts that works for you. Okay, so this is really handy, especially, for example, there is some of them that I'm using a lot, like the blend node. And if you select the previous node, as you see, it will directly put it. So I press B and I have my blend node. And once again, if you want to refer it after, if you are not sure what you define, you can use this to showcase. It's good to leave it by default. Spacebar, create favorite, create shortcuts. Something that you may or may not know also when you create a node is that if you select a link like this one and press spacebar, and let's say I want to add a blur, it will add it directly within the link. This is something great. Another thing that you may or may not know is, like, for example, if you do Control, I'm going to delete that. Let's say I'm doing Control D to duplicate a node. This is great, but sometimes you want to duplicate it without having the link. So if you do Control Shift D, you see that you will duplicate the node, but you won't have the link here. Also, something that we added recently is that you can select a node and you can disable it. So if you want to see the result with or without, you just do Shift D, and the node is now disabled. This is great because it allows you to test really quickly the result without having to disconnect, reconnect the node. So sometimes watch out, because if there is a conversion, it may make an error. So you have to be careful, of course, but still, this is a great way to try stuff. And also, if you have a node which has multiple input or outputs, sometimes it doesn't let you disable it because it wouldn't know how to reconnect the links. So we did that. Okay, another one which is great. This is in the node manipulation always. I'm continuing. So here, for example, you see that these are all my outputs. So generally, it's a good way to put it in a frame like that, and to align them properly. But let's say, for example, okay, I don't know, I was tired and I have my output like that. Not super beautiful. You have a way to align them quickly. So if you select this, you can press H to align them horizontally, or V to align them vertically. So in my case, I would press V, and you see that my node would be realigned. Same thing here. If I take this and I press H, first I'm going to select these 3 ones, for example. H, they are aligned horizontally, and that's a good way to show like my Alt to move the frame without moving the nodes with Alt, like this. Another way to organize the node is to use to select the upstream or downstream. So what is it? Is if you do right click, you see that you can select the upstream or the downstream. So if I select the upstream, it will select all the nodes before this one, but which are influencing the result. So now I can move that, and you see it will move everything. You can do the upstream as well, so all the nodes which are connected after this one. So right click, select upstream, downstream, and you see that now all the nodes which are affected by this are great. So this is a great way first to reorganize a bit your graph if you have to move like big parts, and also to look at what is really influencing this node. So if you want to know if this node is, for example, affecting the height map or the metallic, now you know that yes, it is. So this is a good way to debug, for example. With this, you have also a similar feature that you can adapt. It's for the display to highlight the flow. So highlighting the flow with whatever you select, it will show which node upstream are involved in this. So I like to work this way because it allows me to really focus on what is affecting this node at any time. So we have seen how to create a Ctrl-Shift-D, like to duplicate without creating a node. What you can do also, if you want to delete a node like this one, for example, if you do delete, you will see that you will delete the node, but also the link. Sometimes you want to delete the node, but you want to preserve the link, so you do backspace, like that. So you see that the link is still here. Now let's see some link.tips. Yes, so let me create one node like a noise. Let's use this one, fractal sum base, and I'm going to use another one like, for example, checker. And these are well known, but still I'm preferring to show you because it can be useful. And I'm going to use some blend node. So I can press B. Don't want this way, but that's fine. I'm going to reorganize, and let's connect the node. So to connect is kind of easy. You just have to press once, to click once, and to click a second time. But what if you want to connect this to multiple inputs in that case? What you can do is hold Control, and then when you click, it will create directly a new link. So Control, I'm holding Control, and you see that I can create all this really quickly, which is great. So now imagine you want to change, and all of this you want to change you want to replace the fractal sum base by the checker. So you could relink everything, but it takes time. So if you want to replug everything at once, you hold Shift, and then you just take everything, and you can move everything, disconnect, and replug here directly. So this is really useful. A useful one as well is if you want to invert these two, just swap them. So you can select them. So instead of disconnecting, reconnecting, etc., you select them and you press X. I'm going to do this way, so you will see. If you press X, you see that it will cross the streams. So do it with care, because you know that crossing the stream can be dangerous, but here it's really useful. Finally, something that I didn't show, to create a node another way. So we see that, for example, if I press spacebar, you can choose whatever you want. Another one is to press and hold to create a link, and when you release, you will just have the compatible nodes that will appear in the list. Yeah, so you avoid, for example, here if I do a blur, for example, if I take blur HQ color, of course I will have this error, but if I want to do it again, like here, if I press this way and release and I press blur, you see that here I don't have the color which is appearing, just the grayscale, because that's what is compatible. Okay, so we have seen all this stuff. Now let's see some stuff for testing your graph. So first of all, when you have a lot of parameters in a graph, like this one, so I'm double clicking to show the parameters, please use the preview mode here. So here you can play with the parameters. So let's see my height map, which is the most affected by this. So I'm just displaying it, double clicking, and in the preview mode, I can play with the parameters, see the result without really affecting my graph. I can come back here and you see that it does not affect. So this is a great way to test your parameters without destroying anything. And then when you are satisfied, you have different, you can say, okay, this is my default one, I won't do that. You can go back to default here, for example, etc., etc. So preview mode, I really invite you to try it. This is super handy. Also, something which is should be known, but maybe you don't. When you have an input node, so in that case I don't have, I think. So let's say I have an input color and I want this input color to be blurred in my graph. So if I do that, the issue is right now I don't have anything. Why? Because my input color is made to be fed by another application, maybe Designer, maybe Painter, or whatever application, but no, I don't see anything. So one reflex would be to take an image. Let me check an image. I will take this one of myself. So I link the resource here. Okay, this is me, awesome. So I could say, okay, let's take temporarily this image and click it here. And now I see, okay, it works the way I want, I can fix. Okay, nice. So now I go back here. That works, but that's not really handy because it's you have to import an image to delete it later on. Luckily, there is a better way to do that because in the input node, you can drag and drop an image. So let me delete my bitmap. And now I have this resource here and I'm dragging and dropping here. So now it's within the input, but it's just as a preview. It's not really imported within the graph. When you will export the graph, this image won't be there. It's just for the sake of testing, like that. So yeah, if you have an input that needs to be fed, do this way. This way you will test without taking a risk, without adding any useless bitmaps. Another one that I want to show is this is an interesting one because most of the time you can work with let's say this height map, but sometimes it's hard for our eyes to read the result of a height map. So it's always useful to use a normal map, a temporary one that you will use. So let me put that to 20, for example. So you get an idea of what's going on. So it's easier to read the result just with this rather than something else. For example, if I take a noise like this one, fractal sum base, it's hard, you can see, but it won't let you tell. Meanwhile, let me play with this. So I double click here to see it, and now I click here to apply, and now I can choose the mean level and choose to change, and it will be easier to read there, especially if it's like small volume. So let me put a level, for example, or an histogram. histogram range like this, and let's diminish the range to something really small. So here, it's super hard for the eyes to read that. Meanwhile, if you look here, it will be way easier. So using a normal map just to help you read and review the values of a height map is a good trick as well. Okay, another one with pixel processor right now. So if you know pixel processor, you know that you can create interesting stuff, of course. So let me take again the fractal sum base like this one. And okay, so I put it as input. So real quick, I'm going to go within the Pixel Pros. I'm going to grab the position first, like this. I'm going to sample the value. So is it, yeah, it's a grayscale. So I'm going to convert this to grayscale. And I'm going to use a sampler gray, which is great. So by default it works. You see that set as output. Okay, you can read the value because they are comprised between 0 and 1. And an image, it's either black or white, so 8-bit or 16-bit image, no problem. But let's say that as you can do math, you have values which are above 1. So to do this, I'm going to do a multiply. And I'm going to multiply by a float, of course, this one, and I'm going to multiply by 20, for example. So I'm going to set this as output. And now we have a problem because we cannot see anything because everything is more than 1, because it's at least most of them. And it's hard to read because you cannot evaluate the value if it works the way you want. So a way to do this would be to look at the histogram, but once again, as it's a 16-bit image, you don't have any idea of what's going on. So what you can do in that case, to get an idea of what's going on, is to select your pixel processor, go to the base parameter, and we are going to change it and not leave it to 8-bit to channel, but put it to absolute 32 bits. And when I do that, you see that now I have an idea of the value here. I can evaluate the different stuff. So this is just a helper to evaluate the values that are comprised within a graph. And you can even click on them and know it. So histogram in general in the 2D view is extremely useful, whatever you choose to see, to adapt, especially when you are building a height map which are supposed to blend together. You can easily review them with the histogram. You have also the information that lets you get any value on the map. So once again, if I go here as well, I will get this value. You see 10, 3, etc. It's possible because I converted it in a 32 maps. Okay, I think we have seen lots of stuff. I don't think I forgot anything, so let me go back to my face. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you have learned lots of stuff, that you are going to use portals and all these tricks in your next graph. If you have some other tricks that you would like to share, don't hesitate to add them in the comment. I may talk about them in another video. So thanks again for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.